Hello everyone, Daniel from DePIN Hub over here. This episode is brought to you by IoTex, the DePIN modular infrastructure for everyone. Hello everyone, Daniel from DePIN Hub over here, and today we have a bit of a different episode. We are actually, me and Pascal reporting live from Brussels. We're here at the EXCC, like one of the biggest Ethereum conferences for the nerds, for the developers. Today's Thursday on the 11th of July, and it's been like today I think is the last day of the event, or it's tomorrow actually, but it's been amazing to be here. The guys from Across actually organized an amazing event focused on DePIN on Sunday. There's so many events happening right now. It's so interesting. Every day of the week has been something related to DePIN. We've been talking to so many people, builders, founders, investors, everyone. It's been exciting. And one topic that we wanted to discuss in this episode is actually not a DePIN project, but something that those guys from Across have been working quite hard in trying to assemble something that we call actually the DePIN Association. And it's a specific episode that we're going to be talking about that. Why are we building that? What's the advantages? It's still very early. There's a lot of work to be done in DePIN in general, right? Of course. Thanks so much for joining, Pascal, in the episode. Let's start by you doing a quick intro about yourself, what you guys are doing at Across. We already had an episode with Alessandro, the other co-founder, a few episodes ago. And this one we're going to be focusing, of course, on the association.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, if you see the background blinking and everything, I'm not at a club. I'm still at an event, like you've been saying. It has been nonstop since we got here, or I got here on Saturday. And the very cool events where also you were present for the DePIN Association that happens on Sunday with a lot of amazing DePIN projects. And yeah, since then it has been really nonstop. Very, very great DePIN content left and right. So many amazing events, so many amazing DePIN projects here in UCC. It's actually quite unbelievable. And this is kind of very interesting for us to see as well, right? Across on our side, we're building this decentralized cloud where we use the mobile phone instead of servers to really kind of democratize and open source or open crowdsource essentially cloud computing. And we have been in kind of this space for some time already, but obviously the name DePIN and the label DePIN is new, and we have definitely seen a lot of kind of development over the past months. I think, like you said here, the amount of side events that happened here during ECC has been crazy. So definitely something that we thought is what can we do to really provide value to the space, and how can we bring together more and more of these DePIN projects and really collaborate and further work together. And that's essentially something that then came out of it, which is very excited that I'm here to talk about, is essentially the DePIN Association.
Let's say you guys are based in Switzerland, right? Like, I guess like the homeland of associations, foundations, a lot of crypto companies also on the foundation side, they set up their foundation in Switzerland. So I guess you guys have a lot of experience setting up that. What was the main inspiration for creating that association? And in your head, what was the main objectives for why building it?
Like you're saying, Switzerland with this kind of legal association setup is perfectly fitted out for exactly this use case. Having individuals or even kind of entities and companies come together, collaborate on a certain common goal, and have kind of the legal structure in the backing. With like you have a general assembly, everyone has a certain amount of votes, and then all of that is very organized, but it's very simple as well at the same time. And for us, or for me as well, kind of the inspiration came out of other associations and then kind of consortiums that have been out there. I think one that I found really interesting is the Real World Assets Consortium, kind of led or kickstarted initially by Centrifuge, that we've been really seeing kind of the value of projects with kind of a common narrative or common understanding coming together and really pushing forward a narrative in one specific direction, right? And then kind of working really together on that front.
What kind of like main issues that you think you guys can help solve with the association, right? Because DePIN, I think as a narrative, as a name is very, very early. It's like, less than 2 years or over a year. And there's a lot of people thinking, yeah, so we are DePIN, we are not DePIN. Actually, a lot of projects were DePIN before the name, as you know. What are the challenges that you think like having an association can clear out, right?
To kind of continue the conversation about events, right? There are so many DePIN events here, which is amazing to see. But on the other side, it's also kind of then getting into competition with the audience, right? If we in the end cannot, because we have so many events at the same time, bring kind of the people to these events and they're spread out over these events, it gets to kind of being counterproductive, right? So that is definitely one thing that we see that we can do together, right? Creating events, partner together with all of these different projects, and then really adding kind of value when it comes to that. But more broadly, essentially, it's combining resources to push forward the ecosystem or the space itself, right? When it comes to let's do joint research together and then being able to talk to this about the specific category of DePIN, or let's do advocacy for specific projects in specific narratives. All of kind of these things is definitely what we see and want to drive with it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I see a lot, not a lot, but actually I see happening is like, small DePIN projects that are like fighting over a similar niche. Like, oh, there are a few projects doing storage or like even Wi-Fi, wireless, mobile, etc. And I think what you guys are saying is 100% correct, right? We're so small compared to the world that we shouldn't be fighting, two ends fight. We need to combine forces and fight, fight the Goliath, the big companies, the TradFi, etc. So I think that's definitely the right step forward, right? Like let's join forces. Let's think how can we work together as projects, and then I think the association is gonna be this entity, right? That's gonna combine and help, organize and put like a North Star for the whole group of people trying to build decentralized infrastructures.
I completely agree on what you just said, right? Competition is one thing in the space, right? But if you look at kind of the broader picture, where we want to be with DePIN and what we want to achieve with DePIN, it's essentially bringing on kind of the next millions and billions of users. And I really think that DePIN can be this accelerator for the Web3 space in general, right? So competing on like very small levels doesn't really help anyone, right? So why not, even if you think this might be a competitor, why not come together and within like a DePIN association here, push forward the narrative of DePIN for all, right?
Yeah, I know exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, other than events, do you have anything in mind that can help, like, grow the space and awareness about DePIN?
So research is definitely one interesting topic. So if you look at certain areas or then subcategories of DePIN, I mean, for us, it's essentially for Accuracy itself, it's like in the compute space, right? How can we compete in that area as DePIN as a whole, right? What are the differentiators that we're getting out of it? So being able to kind of bring together the compute DePIN projects as an example, right? Doing joint research together and showcase kind of these are the advantages when we do this whole setup completely decentralized, right? And then having kind of this as a baseline to communicate and talk about this specific sector with a lot of the industries outside of it, right? And having this as a reference. So bringing kind of these things together and then building kind of this standard use cases or reference cases in the end, I think that is definitely a huge advantage for the whole space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys have way more experience with like foundations and associations than me. How does it work in terms of, can you explain like the governance, the structure, how decisions are made, how to know what kind of decision needs to be made to begin with as well? How does that work, the process?
So for kind of the association setup, kind of the main thing is everyone has a specific number of votes. So here, when we set it up with these 10 founding members that we currently have, it's like everyone has one vote, right? And this vote is like a democratic thing. Obviously, if you are deciding on kind of where to go, how the vision looks like, it's essentially the majority that decides this, right? It's not one specific party that says, okay, this is the way that we need to go forward with this association, or these are the tasks that we need to focus on when it's contrary to the other kind of members' opinions, right? So it's always very democratic and kind of where the majority essentially takes us. And I think this is kind of very good as a base of, okay, we have the discussions about kind of what we want to do. And then everyone essentially agrees on this. Okay, this is kind of the next steps that we need to take. And there are always, so there's a General Assembly, which is yearly, that is usually kind of in this statutes of obligation of the association that are set, where we have all of the things like the committee is being elected, the kind of membership structures and fees are being set. But all of this is kind of then based in kind of the democratic setup in the end, right, with the majority votes. And I think this is very cool to see kind of the parallels in this space, right, where we're saying there is in the DePIN area, you have a lot of communities that are coming together that's providing value, right? And this value is being used by someone. So also having kind of living this same ethos here as well, and not having kind of one person or one project saying, okay, this is the way forward and this is what we need to do, but really having kind of everyone at the table, everyone being able to contribute in the areas that they would see themselves fit in as well, through these different working groups, like you said, events, research, communication, all of that, right? And then having really this setup of a group that can provide a platform essentially in the end, and being kind of this guiding light, like you've said.
Yeah, I like that. I think that everybody was like a bit confused in the beginning how things are going to work. There's a lot of people who spends a lot of time trying to define the word DePIN, or there's so many different names. And I think at the end of the day, the name doesn't really matter. The more people trying to come up with a very, very specific name for everything just adds more confusion, right? Let's just call it DePIN, and then we gotta move on to like the things that really, really matter.
The cool thing is with naming something, right? Even if you don't completely agree with, okay, this is like the best name, or we should use something else, it gives us like a common purpose, right? It really kind of unites us, and we can say, okay, we are a DePIN project because these are kind of the properties of it, right? And then through that, we can really come together and be like, this is the DePIN space and what it means to be a DePIN project. And we can unify and really also leverage each other's kind of advantages, right? I think this is the very cool thing that we are seeing here essentially happening, like these communities being kind of cross DePIN projects in the end, right?
Yeah, there's so many verticals of DePIN project, right? I think much more than like DeFi, for example. DePIN, you can have telecom towers, you can have storage, CPU processing, geolocations, wireless, Wi-Fi, IoT, and so on. Even there's like project that you can control a little delivery car. So Protobots is a project that you can control the delivery food from someone in Asia, delivering food to someone in the US. So there's a very, very broad amount of projects. I mean, something that I haven't seen before.
And there are so many synergies, right, as well, right? There are projects that can leverage each other to their advantage, and then really kind of jointly push kind of their own product and make it better for the end user and for the community as a whole. And I think that's what's really powerful here when we're talking about DePIN in general.
Yeah, we talk a lot about composability, right? Like projects helping each other, using each other's technologies and solutions to build their own. So it's super exciting. Like you have the founding members. How does that work? Like, do we already have the founding members, the names, or just some of them? And then after those members, how does the extra members come to play? Are there tiers? I have no idea.
Yes, that's a very good question. So the founding members essentially are 10 very cool projects. So Acrest on our sides that really have started this, but then we have Peak, we have Power Ledger, we have UTO Networks, there's Impossible Clouds, Pockets, Safe Junction, IoTex, GeoNet, and obviously as well DePIN Hub. So I mean, it's amazing to already hear the names, right? And when we go through this project, and also kind of the versatility, where it's like a DePIN focused layer one, where it's something in the compute space, where it's something with satellites, or just kind of the community enhancements around the space, right? So that is kind of very cool already for me to see kind of these members joining as the founding kind of partners of this association, and then really from now on being able to push and then open up to more members in the end, right? So that we also can onboard investors that are looking invest or support projects in the DePIN space, that we can onboard a lot of even non-profits or individuals, right? That is something what we are going to do as one of the next steps, that we are defining together as these founding members the vision that we have kind of broadly set up before we started the conversations. But now we're nailing it down, and everyone agrees on that. And then the different membership structures will come into place, right? Where individuals will be able to participate and do their things. And we already had a lot of people reaching out. I've talked to many as well, like, I'm really interested as an individual in the DePIN space. What can I do to kind of help and support the association? I have these skill sets, right? And this is something that we can then, as we have then defined this, we can really onboard and scale out and have these different working groups that are focusing on the areas where we really see kind of we need to push and invest more resources in the end from the teams that are participating.
Yeah, definitely. I can see a lot of work that we can do together, right? As we have a pretty big DePIN community as well. There's so many people that are onboarding into crypto through DePIN. So I think it's a very important role for DePIN Hub and also for the association is to how can we actually onboard those users and make sure that they feel part of something bigger that they're creating, right? And I think that's something that people get very excited about building in DePIN.
You know, I really think that DePIN, and this has been echoed by others as well, so it's not a completely new take, but that DePIN is the funnel for the whole blockchain space. So really having kind of this ease of use kind of things where you can get your first touch onto blockchain. I mean, on the Acrest side, it's, for example, you use your mobile phone, you scan a QR code, within like 3 minutes, you're providing compute, and you're earning rewards when the device is being used, right? So it's not a lot of contact with blockchain. You don't need to set up a wallet. You don't need to fund accounts to be able to participate in something like DeFi, right? But it's very easy to get into, right? And there will be some stickiness when it comes to that, right? Not 100% of the users are interested in the underlying technology. They will never be, right? But even if 10% of these many users that we can onboard through DePIN stick and say, hey, okay, this is cool. How does it actually work? And they're like, oh, okay, it's blockchain. Okay, what can I do with blockchain? And then kind of really start understanding, okay, there is DeFi, there is RWAs, there is all of these other things in the blockchain space. And we can really be then kind of this push towards the broader adoption also for all of these other verticals that Web3 essentially has to offer. So I really see this as kind of the make or break moment for me as well of the whole Web3 space when it comes to accessible and adoption in the end.
No, absolutely. I think one thing that I like to say is the DePIN is the gateway drug into Web3. You know, it's like that easy jump into crypto. It's something that people understand.
It's like easy to start with, and then they're like, okay, yeah.
You get hooked. IoTech's modular infrastructure empowers DePIN development across every vertical, creating a vibrant ecosystem of projects and real-world applications. By enabling projects to deploy in full or integrate our DePIN optimized modules into existing frameworks, IoTeX furthers its mission to democratize DePIN for everyone. IoTeX is celebrating their recent $50 million investment with the first ever DePIN airdrop, featuring 5 training projects, all pre-TG, that are #building IoTeX. Complete Galaxy tasks to climb the leaderboard to secure your airdrop. At heart, IoTeX Elite Gold on Discord even get whitelisted access to highly valued DePIN project public sales. Check it out. Interested in building on IoTeX? Connect with the team at bd@iotex.io. My partner, she works with a lot of politicians, and there's always those politicians that, oh, crypto is bad for the environment, just using like a lot of resources. And then the best use case that you can tell is like explain some DePIN projects, how that works. Then they have like that, the moment that they realize that, okay, actually, it's not just fossil fuels that we are like burning by mining Bitcoin. There's so much more in crypto, so many more opportunities that, and then fostering that through the association, I think it's going to be really, really cool.
I mean, talking about Bitcoin, and this is also a bit controversial, I think it's really kind of something that DePIN brings us back to the roots of kind of the initial thoughts around blockchain, right? You had with Bitcoin these miners that without like a lot of incentive, just because they are interested, started kind of this movement around, okay, let's provide compute and then do this kind of new technology and really crowdsourced this layer of infrastructure, right? And I think really here it's kind of this 2.0, right? Essentially back to kind of the roots where users really, they provide some sort of value that is being used on the other side by a demand. And obviously then there's also this discussion again, right? Okay, where is the demand coming from? And for me, ultimately, this needs to be from kind of the real world, the Web2 world, or whatever you want to call it. But then it can be a huge enabler.
Yeah, I know, 100%. Yeah, like I like to think that a lot of projects like yours, for example, your customers don't necessarily even know that's crypto. Crypto is just, the back end. The same way that you don't care if we're recording this, if this is going through like Amazon or Google Cloud, doesn't matter as long as it works and it works well, right?
And the cool thing is that we really can use kind of this decentralization aspect of it to its advantage, right? That we can bootstrap a compute network with these mobile devices across the globe and really be then competitive with kind of the centralized powers to be, right? Because we can use the advantages of this decentralization that it really gives us. And this is not only for hackers, obviously, but all of these other DePIN projects that they can jointly and through this crowd create a value proposition that then is really able to also be competitive in the real world, in the real market, essentially, and flipping kind of industries on its head. And I think that's the powerful aspect of DePIN, right?
Yeah, I think that's what gets up in the morning, us every morning, like let's change the world for better, right? Through DePIN. I think it's super, super exciting. How do you see the association? Let's say you guys have the founding members now. How do you see it like all on a longer term? How do you see that happening? Like what are the main roles? How things are going to change?
Yeah, I mean, so the initial kind of, let's call it version 1.0 that we are kind of starting now will have the association being led by various members through these working groups. So working group like research, where we set a task of, okay, we need to do research about a specific subcategory of DePIN, and the output is essentially then a research paper that we can use to also broadly communicate and have this reference use case, like we've said, right? So this will kind of kickstart, or is being kickstarted now, with kind of the version that, or the vision is that we can really grow like a core team of the association that then handles all of the kind of operational side of things. Because the coordination with groups obviously is in the end also challenging. So there, the version 2.0 of the DePIN Association, for me specifically, I mean, India, that's something up to the members to decide, but would be, we have a small team of essentially coordinators, and these coordinators really work together with the projects that are providing resources in terms of like time and then also financial side of things to push forward these certain topics, right? And that would be for me the ideal essentially stage where we can really then further use the value that is being created through kind of the collaborative efforts in the end.
No, that's super cool. And then also, do you plan to do some sort of like accelerator, or like how does the association gonna support new projects coming to the space?
So maybe not directly accelerators, but more kind of in the area of like mentorship, for example, so that we have in these categories the project that say, okay, look, I want to help out these different upcoming new projects by providing kind of the understanding and these best practices that we have created in this space, right? So more towards kind of the mentoring aspect and not directly let's organize and accelerate, bring project together, and then the best one is picked, but really being kind of the supporting aspect of the space, right? On kind of a ground level, but also then on a level where it's in terms of advocacy in certain areas, right? Like you've been saying, talking maybe to politicians or pushing kind of an enterprise working group of a specific sector and really kind of positioning the conversations at the right level so that we can start opening the doors for all of the upcoming projects that will be here, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think nowadays the only times that people talk about with politicians goes through a project, right? Like for example, Helium Mobile needs to talk to someone in the US. When the government, they need to go themselves and talk to them. Now having like an association with a lot of voices behind, a lot of companies, I think has a much stronger take on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the big challenge there definitely will be kind of coordinating these efforts and because I mean, DePIN, the cool thing is that there's so many different areas of DePIN, but this will also be a challenge, right? For something like the association saying we're focusing not only on compute, we're focusing on sensors, we're focusing on all of these different aspects of it. So kind of the prioritization there will be definitely one of the main challenges that I see when it comes to advocacy and talking to kind of on the political level. But as long as we have kind of someone in the driver's seat in this category, I think this is then the perfect way to really share the resources and not having to start the conversations over and over again, right?
Building this framework to start approaching like the government, etc. The event that you guys organized on Sunday was really good. I really enjoyed. There's going to be a lot of pictures and videos, I think, on Instagram right now, on Instagram and Twitter. Do you guys have any other events that are coming up or start planning or thinking about? What are the next steps?
Yeah, so we're talking with the founding members of the association now about kind of the upcoming bigger events that are happening around the globe. We're definitely Token 2049 will be one of the next focus, and then later on also DevCon. That's something that we yet have to see and kind of how we are going to structure it. Definitely the goal will be to have like a bigger event once a year at least, but be present in kind of this shared aspect of these various projects at the bigger events that's happening throughout the years to really have what I said before, right? Not 10 DePIN events where thousands of people go to, but then 3 or 2 DePIN events where they all come together, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's much better. It's definitely, getting everyone together is going to be like a much more interesting event for sure. All the founders are going to be insane instead of like spread out through the event, right? Another event that could be interesting is Web Summit as well. It's going to happen, I think it's November this year in Lisbon. I like the term deeping of the narrative for like DevCon, for example, which is like a developer conference, but not 100% crypto, right?
Yes. And you're bringing entirely up a very interesting point because so one is essentially the crypto Web3 space, right? And how we can collaborate, how we can talk about the projects, what we can do there, right? So Web3 events or crypto events are definitely the place to be. But when it comes to the adoption, we just talked about this, right? This is somewhere else. This is coming from the Web2 or from the real world. So having kind of a presence at these web summits and all of these events, even specifically for like categories of DePIN, I think that's a definitely a thing that we need to start pushing, because that's where we get to the funnel, right, of DePIN.
Yeah, absolutely. For those who want to listen to know more about the association, join association, talk to you guys, where's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so the kind of online presence is quite limited at the moment, to be honest, but on DePINassociation.com, we have the details already. If you're interested to become a member, you can sign up the form. We're about to go through all of the applications shortly, and then this will be way more open in terms of how the application structure will look like, what information would be that we are going to share, kind of moving on forwards. Please give us some time to find our footing and all of the things. In the end, this is still something where we see a lot of value in, but the time obviously that each of these projects contributed is also not 7 days a week. So it will be something that is a bit slower moving, but I definitely see the more kind of projects we have, the more resources we can share.
Yeah, and awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our listeners?
I mean, I can just kind of say it again in terms of that I really, really think the kind of possibility of DePIN being this this funnel for the space and being really the enabler for the Web3 space as a whole is very crucial, because we have been building in the space for a long time already. And some interesting use cases have emerged where we've seen kind of institutional adoption, for example, in real world assets. And on some other spaces, we have been seeing a lot of kind of the same repetitions, right? We've been seeing a lot of casinos when it comes to things like meme coin, which might be interesting to some, but to be really able to kind of push the Web3 space to the next stage, I really think this is something that we need as an industry, as a whole, to have kind of the next, like this sounds always cheesy when projects say that, but kind of the next billions of users that are really coming in. And yes, for me, this is really deep.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining the podcast today. I think it was a very interesting topic. I'm super, proud and honored to be part of the DePIN Association. And it's thank you so much for all the hard work that you guys have been doing on setting up all these things.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. Sorry, I'm still a bit sore, like for speaking the whole week. So apologies for that, and kind of the venue that I'm sitting here in as well. But I mean, thanks for joining the association. I think really projects need to come together, and this is definitely something that we are doing here together. Yeah.
Yeah, together we go, man. Have a great one. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Awesome.
See you very soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the episode about the DePIN Association with Pascal from Acurest. And I would like to invite you to join our DePIN Revolution, which is going to be like an online event that's going to happen at the end of August. Join at revolution.depinhub.io and make sure to subscribe to the newsletter on depinhub.io. There's a lot of opportunities, airdrops, alphas, and a lot of things that you don't want to miss. So make sure to join and see you in the next episode.